Imagine you stand in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and then you're being transported back in time to the end of the Cretaceous era, 66 million years ago. The dinosaur had been ruling the world unchallenged for 175 million years. Then you see a bright light in the sky. A meteor 10 to 15 kilometers in size hurled into Earth, that's a size bigger than Mount Everest. When it hit the Earth, everything changed. And when I say everything, everything. When it reached the upper atmosphere, it creates an unimaginable heat wave that incinerates everything in radius for a few hundred kilometers around. When it hit the ground, a shockwave encircled the entire planet. The amount of energy is unthinkable, about 1 billion times more powerful than the atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. Following the shockwave, a firestorm engulfed the entire planet, cooking everything living creature exposed on the surface. The asteroid that contains sulfur evaporates and causes a sulfidic acid rain. Some creatures hidden underground in caves and underwater managed to survive, but that was just the beginning of the extinction. Cloud of ashes and dust covered the sun for a year, trigger a nuclear winter, blocking photosynthesis, and with no light, there's no photosynthesis. With no photosynthesis, plant cannot grow, no plant, no food, starvation, death. Freezing temperature for about 3 years. Ocean water temperature dropped by 7 degrees, and then temperature remained low for decades. This time, about 80% of all species become extinct, including all the large vertebrates, all the large animals on land, sea, and air, not just the dinosaurs, but all the non-avian dinosaurs become extinct as well. Have no doubt, extinction is real. Welcome to the end of the world. Why we should become a multiplanetary species. My name is Ron S. Friedman. I'm an IT professional and a science fiction writer. Welcome to Science Sci-Fi, connecting the public to science and technology through storytelling. Today we are going to discuss existential risk and why we want to become a spacefaring civilization. I would like to start with a quote from Larry Niven. The dinosaurs become extinct because they didn't have a space program. And if we become extinct because we didn't have a space program, it will serve us right. Larry Niven is a famous science fiction author. He wrote Ringworld, among other things. I met him a few times. The picture you see here is for Worldcon convention, where I met him in 2011. Typically in this presentation, when I talk about space, I'm using the positive approach. I'm trying to say how positive impact investment in space could be, like in encouraging a student to go and study STEM, education, spin-off technologies, telecommunication, GPS, science, resources. Check my videos, why spend dollars on space. I put a link at the end of this video and also at the bottom, right above the comments. But today is going to be a little bit different. Today we're going to be negative. We're going to talk about extinction, catastrophe, apocalypse, why we want to ensure the survival of the human species. But based on my experience from visiting different conventions, the end of the world is a topic that people are interested to listen. So here it is. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Today's agenda, introduction, that's what we are doing right now. Then we're going to talk about the type of apocalypse, if it's a man-made versus a natural. And focus will be in the next 100 years. Our time on this planet is limited. In 5 billion years, the sun is going to become a red giant. It's going to swallow the earth and we are all going to die. So we have to limit it. And our focus, that's why we are going to focus is to only 100 years. Then we're going to talk about our survival chances, the scope, if it's local or global, if it's a catastrophe or an extinction. Then we go briefly through a number of examples from Hollywood. I'm not going to go deeply into those because it's gonna take too much time. I want to finish this video in less than 4 hours, and we are going to have other videos on each of these topics or on some of the more interesting cases. And the last part of this video, we're going to talk about what we can do about it. Basically, it's boiled down to prevention or backup. We can either try to find or predict what kind of extinction is going to hit us and then try to stop it or mitigate it or reduce the chance. And the other option is build colonies in Mars, in other planets, in other places in space. So if something really, really bad happened on Earth, and that's not really a question of if, it's a question of when, then humanity will not become extinct because we'll have more people in other places and our civilization can continue to grow and thrive. Now, if you like this video and you want to support this channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. It's free, really, it doesn't cost you anything. So why not just do it and help us? Now, if you do want to support this channel with money, what you can do is check my books. I'll put my links next to the description below to my Amazon author page, just above the comment section. For example, you can buy or check this book, Escape Velocity. It's a short story collection that takes place on Titan and in the asteroid belt and in other places in space right after the Earth go through some kind of an apocalypse and they lost the supply and they need to be able to survive. So that's quite an interesting story, a series of stories, and consider buying it. And now we're going to discuss catastrophe versus existential risk and local versus global. So if you can see here on the table, it's divided into two axes. One is the scope, the other one is severity. Let's take, for example, something that is very, very, very local, which only one person, say myself. If I lose my one hair, and I lost quite a lot of hair, but it's not the end of the world. I can continue living. Everything is fine. It still sucks. Then let's say somebody stole my car. That's more serious. It's still only one person. It's more serious, but it's not extinction. And then if I have a car accident and I die, for me, it's extinction, but it's not extinction for the species. There are still 7 billion of us that are just fine. But for me, that's the end of the world. It's really, really serious. Then after the personal level, we have a local level that, for example, one country or one region or even one continent. It could be something that is not very serious, something that is serious, but not extinction. Or you can have something like genocide, that all the people in a specific country are murdered or killed. So it's horrible, but it's not the end of humanity. And then we can go to a global level. A global level also, it could be something that is very minor, but affect the entire planet. It could be something that is more serious, that can cause a lot of damage, kill a lot of people, kill a lot of other animals, like the destruction of the ozone layers. But it's not the end of the world. And then we can go to the orange part of over there. This is what we are talking about in this video, that there is some event that cause either the destruction of the planets, like in Star Wars, when the death rate from the Death Star blow up a planet, everybody dies. It could be something that kills all the human on the planet. So it's global, it's extinction, it's everyone. This is the thing we want to really want to avoid. Imagine that you are an actuary in an insurance company. These are the people who sit in dark room with calculator and calculate what will be their insurance premium, like what are the chances we are going to die and what they are going to charge from us. Then you try to calculate what are the chances of the human species to reach the year 2100. Probably an asteroid or an alien invasion has a very low chance of happening in the next 80 years or killing us in the near future. Things like artificial intelligence or nuclear war, I have a higher risk for us. Don't you agree? If you look here, this is a table from the Future of Humanity Institute They did a survey among different people that have specialized in their field of expertise in the University of Oxford in 2008. They calculated that humanity's chances of becoming extinct by the year 2100, that's only 80 years in the future, are 90%, 19%. That means we have 19% that we will become extinct. We will die, all of us together. The highest risk they evaluate to be molecular nanotechnology weapon. That means you have come nanotech, like very little robot. They turn everything to gray goo, and then even by accident, we all stop being human and we become, they replicate themselves, they replicate us into themselves, and we become extinct. Another thing is super intelligence, artificial intelligence. We simply, this is something going to be a lot more smarter than us, maybe 1,000 times, maybe 1,000,000 times smarter than us. We have no clue what it's going to do. Maybe it's going to be beneficial. We hope so. But they evaluate that there is a 5% chance it's going to kill us all. Then you have non-nuclear war, engineered pandemic. We have experienced a pandemic right now. We are not sure if it's engineered or not. And we had nuclear war. The threat is not over. There are like tens of thousands of nuclear workers still lurking around, and somebody have a red button. And then you have natural pandemic, nuclear terrorism, and otherism. Like one note, currently a lot of scientists think that global warming or climate change is going to cause a global catastrophe, but not an extinction. They suspect the temperature will go by maybe 3 to 5 degrees. That means it's going to be catastrophic to coastal cities and other places, but we're still going to be around. But there are other surveys and other researchers that do give runaway global warming a risk, existential risk to our species. Now, let's go back to our original topic. Suppose you were that actuary from that insurance company. How much do you think humanity should invest to ensure or to our survival against those odds? 19%. It's not that low. I mean, this is a risk greater than zero. Hint, the space program has about 0.1% of the global GDP. I'm talking about the US, the European Union, Russia, China, all of it together. It's about 0.1% of the global GDP is invested in space. And space also includes other benefits other than the survival of our species outside Earth. See my video, Why Spend Money on Space. Link will be at the end and also at the bottom. So these are our chances. They not look very good. And from now, we're going to go briefly over different scenarios from Hollywood. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because I'm going to do future videos that explain most of the most interesting cases individually in a separate video. So, example from Hollywood, I'll start with non-anthropogenic risk, and then we'll go to anthropogenic risk, and there will be future videos. First of all is good old alien invasion. We can talk about the Fermi paradox and the Drake equation. What is are the chances that there are extraterrestrial life involved in some other planet, and are they expansionists? Do they want to come here and take over or not? I don't know what are the chances of this happening in the next 80 years. It's not zero. You can see here from the movie Transformers, from the movie Independence Day, and War of the World. We are talking basically then about the 1892, when you have an advanced civilization coming to a place when the less advanced civilization, us, exist, and then take over. But it's always fun. Next topic, I think I ran too fast, is asteroid impact. The chances of asteroid hitting us are actually high, but those are going to be small asteroid. There is a chance maybe that in the next 100 year, a reasonable chance that an asteroid that can destroy a city, like the one that hit at Tunguska in 2008, this one could hit and destroy a city. Chance exists. It's not extremely high, but a huge asteroid like the one that killed all the dinosaurs, that maybe happens once every 60 or 100 million years. So that's extremely rare. Likely not going to happen in the next 80 years to 100 years. We have here, of course, Bruce Willis from the movie Armageddon that tried to go and save us from asteroids, Deep Impact, and another movie that came out this year, Greenland. I enjoy watching it. You're welcome. Other topics that could destroy us is global disasters or volcanism. Of course, that has nothing to do with us. We don't have control. San Andreas, it could cause a local destruction. That's not a global extinction. Still an interesting movie. 2012, a movie about something with the core of the Earth, Volcano. Again, this is not a global, but there were cases, there were extinction event, global extinction event that had volcanism in place. Non-human climate change. This is an image from the movie Interstellar. It could be something cosmic like gamma ray burst. When you have supernova, you have a one concentrated line that go, and it could, if it hits a planet up until something like 6,000 or 7,000 light years, it could entirely sterilize the planet. If you are not exactly on the ray, then I think the safe zone is a lot smaller, probably a fraction of a light year. So when Betelgeuse will explode, we are probably going to be safe. But the risk still exists. Here for the right side, you see Spock from the Star Trek movie from 2009. A black hole hit the planet Vulcan and shrank it. Like it was gone by a black hole. Now we'll move to other example from Hollywood, anthropogenic. This is the things that actually have a high risk of actually occurring, and are more likely to occur. And I'm going to do separate video about the more interesting cases. First one is weaponized nanotech. We spoke about it earlier. At the right side, you see from Stargate, the replicators, they were Asgard's deadliest enemy. Samantha Carter, I believe, he's a replicator, so they can replicate and turn everything else into other replicator. Extremely dangerous. On the left side, you'll see from G.I. Joe when they have a weaponized nanotech that destroyed the Eiffel Tower, but on the last moment they managed to prevent it from going global. Anthropogenic climate change. This is a very popular topic. We have here the movie A Day After Tomorrow, where the Gulf Stream stopped flowing, and because of global warming, and it actually caused global cooling, like a new ice age. And you have the movie Wall-E that there was an environmental disaster, and all the humans of Earth, or those who survived, had to evacuate in some cruise ship, and they left some robot to clean up behind. Other things, we have a genetically engineered pandemic. We have here a series of books, Planet of the Apes, The 12 Monkeys, I Am Legend, and Outbreak. Yeah, I still remember it. It's from the 1990s, talking about a global pandemic, human-made, or at least human-released, genetically engineered. Nuclear war. This has been the default scenarios during the Cold War. We're going to destroy ourselves with a nuclear war. We were very close to destroying ourselves in a nuclear war in some cases, like the Cuba Missile Crisis, and perhaps in other cases that we don't know about. And the risk of nuclear war is not over. The United States and Russia and China and some other countries still have nuclear weapons, and Russia and the States are still very capable of destroying the entire world and bring us, at least destroy our civilization and bring us very close to extinction, if not extinction. So you have here Terminator 2, Judgment Day. That's both AI and nuclear war. We have War Game at the top, and we have the TV series, The 100. Artificial intelligence, again, these are computers that are extremely smart. They are thousands of times or millions of times smarter than us, and we simply have no clue how they're going to behave. Hollywood, of course, likes the worst case scenario, because if the AI is behave very nicely and helping us, then it's not so interesting for when you create a movie. But if the AI is trying to destroy us, but somehow because we are humans, we are able to overcome all the problems and fight back and maybe even manage to win, probably not a likely scenario. So probably they're not going to try to destroy us, but even if they do, they're probably going to be successful, and it's going to be very easier to them just because they're way smarter than us. So the movies we have here is The Matrix on the right side, and in the bottom the Ex Machina. We have Terminator, Skynet, and HAL 9000 from the movie and book Space Odyssey. Civilization collapse. This is not a total extinction, but our civilization collapsed from some reason. This is still a good excuse or a good reason to have other colonies with advanced civilization and advanced technology up in space. But yeah, that's something that could happen. You can see here Mad Max. It caused because of we run out of oil, or it could happen because we run out of another essential resources. We have the Hunger Game. That was caused by an oppressive government. And why did I put the movie Troy here? Yes, in 1177 BC, we had the Bronze Age collapse. We had the civilization in the past that used bronze, and then for that they used copper and tin, and there was issue happened with the tin supply. There came the sea people, and the civilization collapsed, and we had to start again maybe 200-300 years later from iron. It turned out to be better, but still, the story of Troy is part of the Bronze Age collapse. And another thing, the last thing we're going to talk about is fertility drop. We have the most extreme scenario from the Children of Men, where people simply couldn't have more children, and then everybody getting old, and eventually we could die, and that will be the end of our species. We are not very far from it. If you can see from the table on the right, there is a global trend of fertility drop. We're not sure exactly what are the reasons. It could be urbanization, could be other issues. But we can see that right now in most of the world, there is a big drop in the number of kids every family has. Africa still have more, but probably in a generation or so, their numbers are coming down as well. And the number of children per woman or per family is going to drop to 2. That's just about or maybe slightly below replacement level, which means that our population in time is going to shrink. It also means that the population is going to be aged. The average age is going to be a lot higher, and that may cause a lot of economical hurdles. Maybe not extinction, but it's definitely a catastrophe. Now, what we can do about existential risk or catastrophe risks? As I said earlier, we basically have 2 things we can do. One, we can try to prevent them, and we should. Another way is to establish a backup someplace else. If we talk about prevention, we can, if it's an asteroid that comes, we can of course send Bruce Willis to space, and he can save us. Or we can send Arnold Schwarzenegger back in time to kill the mother of his enemy. No, actually, this was the bad guy. But we can send Bruce Willis back in time in the movie 12 Monkeys to stop a pandemic. Or send him to space to solve an asteroid. And other things we can do is develop new technology that mitigates some of the existential risk. Like Tesla is an electrical vehicle. It's supposed to mitigate the use of internal combustion engine that increase the level of CO2 and causing global warming. Neuralink is supposed to reduce the risk of the existential risk of artificial intelligence. So there are things we can do. Of course, the risk will not go to zero, and there could also be things that we are not expecting, like a nuclear war or artificial intelligence that doesn't convince that Neuralink is the best thing ever and they should cooperate with people. They decide to destroy us. I don't know. So what are the other options other than prevention? Backup. The idea is that eventually, if you wait long enough, perhaps there's a 19% chance, even in this century, something really bad is going to happen on Earth. And we need to make an effort to create another branch of humanity elsewhere. Maybe in Mars, maybe in Venus, or in Titan, or in the asteroid belt, in O'Neill cylinders, or O'Neill habitat with artificial gravity. And we should have enough technology and enough people in space outside Earth that if something really bad happened to Earth, our civilization can continue to exist. Now, people are telling me when I discuss this topic that Earth is the best place we have. I agree. So we should try to fix it or prevent the catastrophe from happening. Yeah, I agree. But what if we can? And then they say that, for example, a colony on Mars, it's not as good as Earth. It actually have a higher risk of becoming extinct than Earth. That is true as well. But let's give you an example from a hard drive. Let's suppose the human civilization is a data that we keep in a hard drive. So which scenarios you think is safer? To keep it all the data on one drive, a really, really good high quality drive, Earth, or we should have multiple drive where we should still have the really, really, really good drive. But on top of that, we should do a backup of data on other hard drives that are not as powerful or not as reliable, but we have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 of them. Which scenario is more, we have a better way, a more reliable way to protect the existence of the data? If we have only one very good drive, or many drives that one of them is very good and the others are not as good, but still there. So you see, we do want to make sure that our civilization will continue, even if some catastrophe or our civilization will collapse here on Earth, or if we go to some kind of extinction event, which is why going to space, what Elon Musk and what SpaceX are trying to do, and others are trying to do, we just don't have the same resources, is extremely, extremely, extremely important to our future. Did you like this video? Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. As I said earlier, it's free. And if you want to support more content, please consider to check my books. Have a good day and see you in the next week.